Imagine stepping into a dim, smoky hall, where candle flames flicker against wooden beams, and the air is thick with the scent of roasted meat, spilled ale, and damp cloaks. Laughter booms from one corner, an argument erupts in another, and the soft notes of a lute struggle to rise above the noise. This is a medieval tavern, the beating heart of everyday life in towns across Europe. Contrary to what movies often show, taverns were far more than places to get drunk. They were the social engines of the Middle Ages. Here, travelers exchanged news from distant lands, merchants negotiated deals, guilds held small meetings, and ordinary townsfolk escaped the hardships of daily life for a few precious hours of warmth and companionship. But what exactly was a tavern? In medieval society, a tavern wasn't the same as an inn or an alehouse. Inns offered lodging for the night. Alehouses served mostly cheap, fermented drinks. A tavern was something in between, part restaurant, part bar, part community center. Many were family-run, though some were tightly controlled by local authorities because of their influence on public order. Inside, the atmosphere was anything but quiet. Smoke clung to the air from torches and the central hearth. Most taverns had low ceilings, thick beams, wooden tables scarred by knives, and straw scattered on the floor to soak up spills. The smell was unforgettable, a mix of smoke, sweat, old ale, and freshly baked bread. The food was simple but filling. Stews that simmered all day, chunks of dark bread, cheese, salted meats, roasted chicken, onions, and sometimes fish, although its freshness was always questionable. Spices weren't used to make dishes luxurious. They were often used to hide the taste of aging or poor quality ingredients. As for drinks, ale and beer were far safer than water. Even children drank weak ale every day because polluted water could easily spread diseases. Mead, cider, and local wines also flowed freely, depending on the region. A tavern's customers were as diverse as medieval society itself. Peasants came to relax after long days of labor. Craftsmen and guild members met to discuss business. Merchants stopped for food and gossip. Traveling performers entertained in exchange for coin or a meal. And of course, there were the more dangerous types: mercenaries, thieves, pickpockets, and the occasional assassin trying to blend into the crowd. Taverns were noisy, chaotic, and unpredictable. Dice games and card-like games created constant excitement. Arm wrestling matches drew crowds. Patrons boasted, argued, flirted, and sang, sometimes badly, sometimes brilliantly. But beneath the laughter, there was always tension. Most people carried weapons, knives, short swords, or clubs, and when alcohol mixed with pride or insult, fights broke out quickly. Tavern owners often hired large, intimidating men to act as peacekeepers, though their job wasn't always easy. Politics lived here too. In many towns, taverns served as unofficial meeting places for rebels, dissidents, and conspiracy groups. Leaders discussed grievances with the crown or local lords. In England, several revolutionary movements began in taverns. In France, early political clubs met in drinking houses, long before the famous revolution. Rulers sometimes feared taverns so much that they issued strict regulations or shut them down entirely. But alongside political plotting and everyday drinking, taverns had a darker side. They were hotspots for crime. Pickpockets worked the crowded rooms, bandits watched travelers to decide whom to follow at night, rigged games cheated newcomers. Some taverns quietly traded stolen goods, and poisoning, though rare, was not unheard of, usually to rob someone or settle a grudge. Still, for all their dangers, taverns were places of storytelling and wonder. Traveling bards shared legends, sailors told outrageous tales of sea monsters, knights bragged about battles, and farmers exaggerated harvests. In a world without newspapers, TV, or the internet, Taverns were how people learned what was happening beyond their village walls. And despite their roughness, they provided something valuable: community. A place to warm your hands by the fire, to laugh after a hard day, to hear music, to meet people from faraway places, or to simply sit with a cup of ale and forget your troubles for a while. So, when we imagine medieval life, it's impossible to do so without imagining these lively, smoky, chaotic halls. Places where friendships were made, deals were struck, songs were sung, and fights erupted. Places where revolutions whispered their first breath. Places where lonely travelers found a moment of comfort. Medieval taverns were more than buildings. They were the soul of the street, the stage for countless untold stories, the warm, dangerous heart of the Middle Ages. And now the question is, would you dare to spend one night in a real medieval tavern if you could?